Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in between, Jason, welcome back! Welcome back to episode 3 of Get Into Rush. So, what are we doing here today? Well, as you can see, I am on my deck screen where I have a whole bunch of decks all built, and I am going to introduce to you decks that are good for new players. I'm going to do a top 5. So there's going to be 5 decks in total. We're just going to give a brief overview of the decks and why I think they are good for new players. So with that said, let's hop right in to the first deck I think is good for new players. First off, I want to talk about the Dark Magician. Yes, so this deck isn't exactly a meta deck in Rush, but is actually a whole lot of fun, which is why I'm including it as the number 5 best deck for new players. 1, it is built from structure decks, so that's pretty nice. 2, it uses powerful cards that are meta relevant to Rush overall. And 3, I already have a guide up on my channel on how to play this deck. So the basic idea for this Dark Magician deck is we're just looping Dark Magician. I go over it more in my Rush rundown video, but we have this skill Magician Shuffle, which is constantly being able to add DMG or Dark Magician and then pitch one of them to grave, which combos with the Secret Order, which is the main card of Light Galaxy and a whole bunch of other decks. So basically we'll always have access to Dark Magician as long as we can find Secret Order as well. Being able to search the Dark Magician girl is really strong. With this deck, we also have access to a whole bunch of good spellcaster cards. Like we can run Seventh Road Witch, not for the effect to summon Seventh Road because we're not playing that. Of course, she can also summon the Dark Magician too, which doesn't usually come up, but it's good to have. So we have access to powerful cards. Like I said, we have Dark Magic Attack, wipe the entire back row. It's insane. Thousand Knives, which is a crazy card. As well, our skill doesn't really limit us in terms of what low power cards we can have. So we can play cards like All-Seeing Harvey, Ephyri, and Linak for big beatdown plays. Torero just to be a slow Book of Moon on your turn. And Essel, which is also insane for this deck. So that's basically the brief overview of how the deck works. And the reason I'm saying this is good for new players is it's easy to build, it's simple to play, and it's Dark Magician. If you're a big anime fan, hey, it's DM, come on, man. My second deck that I think is good for new players is Hero. Now, I actually have 2 separate videos on my channel on how to play this specific deck, and I think Hero's good for new players. 1, it is really consistent. 2, it is built from structure decks once again. This version I'm showing you right now does require you to go into a box for the Star Restart, as well as Ghost Cyclone, but the other card here, Shitoto the Talismanic Warrior, which is another important part of this deck, is not from a box, but it's just from leveling a character, which is another reason why I think it's very good for new players to try out. As well, it's actually deceptively powerful. The Hero deck is actually pretty good at going second. There is a version that maxes on these Ghost Cyclones, where you're just trying to farm yourself to go second to Ghost Cyclone, turn 1 to just draw a whole bunch, and then OTK the opponent with Flame Wingman combined with Seal Array and Tantalum as well. This deck also is pretty good into sort of like not lower to the floor, but decks just want to end on one big guy. You can pretty much get over them with Flame Wingman plus Seal Array plus our skill, and as well Tantalum being able to bounce guys back to the hand is really nice. So that's another reason why I think new players would like this deck. As well, of course, like I said with the DM, it's Hero. It's another anime deck that I think new players would probably really enjoy playing. Another big reason I say this deck is good for new players is because there is a near infinite amount of Hero support that just isn't in Duel Links yet, but should come at some point. Number 3 for decks I think new players should try. Dragiastar F. So Dragiastar is interesting. So it's not really a meta deck. There is more Dragias turbo decks that are considered meta. There are just aggro decks that play similar like cards that are quote-unquote meta. But the reason I'm specifically saying for Dragiastar F is because it takes those concepts in aggro in Dragias Turbo and also allows you to flex into a card that doesn't just lose to a monster with higher than 3k attack. Because as you'll notice, Dragias himself is only 2500, and that's not good for getting over big beefy guys. Dragiastar F on the other side is. As well, this deck is really simple to play. You're basically, if you're not doing your big combos with the skill to search the guys to make the fusion with the dragon and everything, you can at the very least fall back on just using Dragias as the big beat stick he is, which is the way aggro and Dragias Turbo play. So at the very least, if you can't do your fusion stuff, you just go full aggro and you just beat the opponent down. As well, we have really powerful cards in the Star Dragon, Fortitude Dragon, and Dragon's Fortitude that actually lets you set up a bit more controlling. With Fortitude Dragon, basically, it lowers the opponent's stats. And then you also have Dragon's Fortitude, which can then be reset by Fortitude Dragon if it's already been like milled or used. And this is a really powerful card for basically winning combat, and it recurs. Also, our resource engine is not one to like scoff at. The sports dragons can constantly like resetting each other if you go down to 0. Dragorite's really powerful. Triad Drago in this deck is constantly online because we're playing so many little guys that will be drawing a decent amount of cards. As well, a decently timed Dragias does just win the game on his own. Alright, so our fourth deck that I think is really good for new players is Light Galaxy. Yes, that is right, Light Gal. Now again, this isn't the best deck in the game. However, it is really powerful. As I mentioned, it uses the power card Secret Order to do a whole lot of burst damage to your opponent. As well, our skill, basically just making that card searchable, is really nice. I have a, like I said, with the Dark Magician deck, I do have a guide for this one on my channel as well. You can search it. It's Rush Rundown Light Galaxy. And we have a whole bunch of other like power cards here. Strange Traveler is a really good card for modulating the opponent's attack. We can play Essel in this deck natively. So Essel is really powerful to mill one of our bigger guys to just summon out with Secret Order. We have cards like Transam Klein to add back our guys if we really need to tribute summon. As well, we have the Transam Linak that of course we play in this deck, and he's a 1600 beater. Then there's other really powerful cards we have in the deck. Meteor Charge is deceptively powerful. It just reads give your guy piercing, which is pretty crazy. People were playing Pierce on release, which essentially did the same thing, but it was generic. However, it also lets you swap the position of an opponent's monster as long as you're giving your normal monster Pierce. So that basically opens up the opponent for even more damage if you are playing in a way where you have both Linak and Traveler, and then you have like Galactic Oblivion Secret Ordered out, and you just, Oblivion pierces over big damage, and then Linak and Traveler take advantage of like a little guy and just beat him down too. And then our other power card is Galactic Force. This card is really good. It is really, really good. Basically just saying, okay, all your Galaxy guys, first of all, you're just putting all your resources back into the deck, and all your Galaxy guys are getting pumped to the gills to go punch as hard as they can. I really, really like this deck. I think new players would enjoy it just because, again, it's a very simple deck. The most skill-intensive part of this deck is realizing when you should be spending your secret orders, so it's quite easy to learn. It's another deck that's going to be constantly seeing new support added to Rush because it is a main character's deck. So you can expect to see a whole lot more Light Galaxy support in the future, so it's a good deck to get into and learn, and it'll only get better as time goes on. So, as much as it hurts me to say this, just as it did in the budget deck video, the fifth and final deck that I think a new player should try, Cyber Dragon. It is simple, it is powerful, and oh my god, it's cheap. It's crazy cheap. So like I said in my budget video, a new player can basically build this deck with just the free stuff they get for starting the game. Like, all you need to do is load up Duel Links for the very first time, and they give you so many free gems and discounts on buying structure decks with gems that you just basically get this deck. The only bit you'll have to like kind of spend on is this guy, the Cyber Soul Dragon, which is like 1,200 gems or something like that. It's so absurdly cheap that I have to recommend it to new players. So let's actually break. I don't have a guide on Cyber Dragon, so let's go a little deeper on what the deck does. The most important part is this skill here, Cyber Dragon Customization. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but basically what it does is it boosts the attack of a Cyber Dragon, a Cyber Assault Dragon, or Cyber Search Dragon and gives you an optional once per duel search for either Proto Cyber Dragon or Fusion from your deck or graveyard. And you're just trying to turbo out the Cyber Twin Dragon. I have Cyber End Dragon. This is a noob trap. You pretty much never summon Cyber End Dragon unless you're stuck in a game where the opponent just keeps walling up, and then you just go, all right, Cyber End Dragon, pierce over some guys. Other than that, very, very niche case where they actually don't have a back row to stop you, you never make Cyber. Cyber Dragon, Assault, and Search become really strong beat sticks that can run over most monsters. And then you summoning Cyber Twin Dragon, who's just going to start swinging over any little guy, opening up the opponent for any of the other guys to get in. As well, there's so many powerful machine support cards that we play in here. We can play the Ancient Gear Golem, which is essentially, like I just said with Cyber End Dragon, Ancient Gear Golem just does a bit better, where you don't have to fusion summon 3 of your Cyber Dragons away to get Gear Golem out. We also have the powerful effects on Cyber Assault, and there's also such crazy recursion cards like Cyber Entry and Cyber Search, which just are summoning out Cyber Dragons for free, essentially. Overall, it's just such a powerhouse of a deck, and is so easy for a new player to pick up. I recommend choosing this as your kind of like first experience for Rush. Anyway, this was much shorter than my other videos in the Get Into the Rush series, but that's because I already have more in-depth guides for how to play some of these decks. Anyway, for you YouTube viewers, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. If you are a new player and there's anything you would like to hear me talk about to kind of explain like what you need to do for Rush, leave that below as well. Or if you're a more experienced player and there's a part of Rush you're having issues like understanding, you can leave that below. I can make a video talking about that as well. That said, YouTube viewers, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on Get Into Rush. Let's go back to stream.